Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's time. I'm finally back from Madrid, so that means we sadly need to revisit the scenes from Madrid on Tuesday night, don't we? I could have just skipped it, just pretended it didn't happen. I've not been looking forward to this, but it has to be done. So let's go over it, shall we? Help. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It'd be much appreciated on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Let's try and get there as quickly as possible. Put some positivity into the air. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this video. A lot of people have been asking in my comments section, where are you? Where is he? You've got the same sort of usual culprits that support other teams that are like, oh, he's done a vanishing act. He's not going to talk about this. The usual, where is he? I was in Madrid. Quite frankly, it was hard to get a video done. I only got back last night about midnight. That was to Glasgow. All I'll say is, it's very difficult when you're out of a stadium on a Tuesday night at about 11 o'clock, then no back into your apartment till like 12:30, then you're up for a train to Barcelona at 9 in the morning, and then you don't fly to Manchester till 5 at night, and then you don't drive up to Glasgow until, 7, 8 at night, landing at 12:30. There was no time for a video. I didn't have time to sit and edit it. I thought I would have. I didn't. It was very hard. They kept us in the stadium for quite a bit. So, stop moaning. I'm here to talk about it now. Jeez, give me 5 minutes.
Should only be used between the coaches. Thank you for your attention.
On that note, it's a very difficult video to make. I don't even know where to begin and where to end with Tuesday night. It's a European hiding that we haven't been subject to in a long time. It's a European hiding that I thought we would have avoided. And, I'm not going to use excuses, aka the red card, to try and make it sound a little bit nicer on us. I'll try and talk about things as brutally honest, as honestly as I can. I'll be brutally honest as I can. It's just tough because after a game like that, I don't want to overanalyze each and every single aspect of Celtic Football Club on and off the park. It's very easy to get carried away. However, the frustrations that us as Celtic fans are feeling after a 6-0 thumping to Atlético Madrid is incredibly valid. You're right to feel annoyed. You're right to feel angry. And you're probably well within your rights to direct that anger wherever you want, whether it be the team, the manager, the board. After a 6-0, it's not nice. It's not nice at all. And we should be given a better account of ourselves in Europe. So it's a really difficult video to make from start to finish. I guess the best thing to do is start with the game itself, talk about the actual football that we've seen, which might be the worst part, but let's try that, shall we? Yeah, it was always going to be hard, let's not lie. This was the game that I feared we could get scalped in the most. This is the one that I thought was the write-off in the group. Did I think it was going to be as bad as 6-0? No. So that hurts. But it was the game that I accepted deep down when it was drawn. Right, that's the game we lose. We're not going to go to the Metropolitano and get 3 points off of Madrid. But the hope that Celtic gave you in that first leg, and the displays that Atlético have put in throughout the opening stages, the opening half of the group stage, would lead you to believe that you have a chance if you turn up, and you have a chance if you stay resolute. Those were things that Celtic didn't do on the night. And that's why we were subject to an absolute thrashing. Atlético are a good team, there's no denying it, filled with world-class players. I mean, you just look at someone like Antoine Griezmann and you see the class that you're dealing with there. That's, worlds apart from what we have at Celtic. But I just wanted to see us give a better account of ourselves in that. Leaving the stadium 2, maybe even 3-0 losers in the game, it's understandable. You're playing one of the best teams in one of the best divisions in the world. We're Celtic, and I was hoping that we'd see some fight and a really strong effort, but we didn't really get to see that. Probably one big reason for that, but we didn't really get to see that, and that's what's really annoying. They made us look like rookies. They made us look like a Sunday League team, especially in that second half. It was just brutal to watch. The agony, we sing piling on the agony, putting on the style. Well, the agony was piled onto us for a change. And it just made it incredibly hard to watch when you see the Celtic fans leaving the game after the fourth goal. can't blame them. Can't blame them. Tempted to myself, but I didn't. But I couldn't blame a single fan for doing it, because you pay all this money and all these, you know, there was what, 3,000-4,000 Celtic fans who made the trip, maybe closer to 5,000, who made the trip to Madrid, including me and my mates. And that's the performance that you're greeted with, and that's the effort that you're greeted with. It's a real bitter pill to swallow. And you can't blame fans for walking out the stadium. But yeah, the first half begins, and it didn't start very well, did it? Atlético took the lead very early in the game. At that point, you could probably just admit to yourself that the writing was on the walls from there. But they took the lead pretty early on. It was a good strike from Griezmann. I think Joe Hart could have maybe done better to get down to it, but I'm on the understanding that there was a slight deflection on the way. But from where I was sitting in the stadium, it looked as though Joe Hart was just so slow in getting down to the box. It's outside the box. It's rolling along the ground, basically. You feel like there should be a better effort to get rid of it than that, but we didn't close down Griezmann. We gave him the space to think about a shot, and you can't give world-class players a chance like that to shoot. And we done such, in the first game at Celtic Park, we done, for as good as these players are, as good as Antoine Griezmann is, we done a good job at trying to nullify what they could do. We closed down on them. We tried to minimise the amount of space that they had, the amount of time to think on the ball. And then within 6 minutes in Madrid, we just get caught out. Players are getting dragged all over the place. The back line was it wasn't looking its strongest, let's put it that way. And I don't think it was just the back line. I think the midfield had a hard job at keeping up with these players in the opening exchanges of the game. Atlético wanted the job done early. You could see that. They were right up for it. And they get that goal. An annoying one to concede because it sets the tone for the game. But what's more annoying is what happens about 15 minutes later. Because that's where the game well and truly changes, flips in its head, and leaves Celtic with no chance of coming back. Couldn't get my words out there. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses, because even with 10 men, I still would like to see us give a better account of ourselves. Tactically, we will maybe just set up entirely in the wrong way. But that red card completely flipped the game in its head. Because I think, genuinely, and I mean this when I say it, I think between the first goal and Dyson Maeda getting sent off, we didn't look all that bad. There was still a couple of times where they carved this up and they had good chances, and you're sitting there with you, kind of breathing through your teeth thinking we've been let off. But we had a good share of the ball. We were moving it forward. We were winning corners. Oblak was forced to make a really good save as well. Celtic came close. That was gone after Maeda was off the park. And I think that you can argue was probably the last player you want to see get sent off in a game like that, because any chance of getting forward, scoring a goal, I think was going to come through the pace of Dyson Maeda, and that was gone. But you can't make excuses. It's not like, I don't think if Maeda wasn't sent off, we would have won the game or we would have drawn the game. I think we'd probably still go on to lose. We were just far from it. You know, there's no point in making an excuse like that. But the red card just killed all hope. That was it there. Game was done. You'd have been better off just blowing the final whistle 23 minutes into the game. But what's even more frustrating is the red card in itself. And once again, I really don't want to make excuses. We were pumped. Simple as that. We were pumped. You can't get around that, no matter what way you try and look at it. However, the decision to send Dyson Maeda off is unbelievable. It is a damning piece of evidence to suggest that VAR has no place, purpose, or right to be involved in any walk of football, whether it be domestic in Scotland, domestic in England, or European continental football. VAR should not be here, because the decisions being made make no logical sense. That's never a red card. It's never a red card in a month for Sundays. I couldn't believe it. Obviously, we couldn't really see what happened from where I was sitting in the stadium. I'm way up the gods at the other end. You know, I couldn't see what happened. But the minute that you see it at half-time on your phone, you're filled with rage that he's been sent off. The referee, who, by the way, has had previous for poor calls of Celtic, and I think we've put a complaint in about him in the past. That is not a red card. He uses the screenshot, or he uses the frame of where there's a point of contact, which does not paint the full picture of what happens whatsoever. That is never a red card. It's not the first instance as well over the past 2 days of where it should be a red card. It happened in the Manchester United game as well last night with Marcus Rashford. It does look like there's contact, but you've got to watch it in its full and in its entirety. You've got to understand what's happened and how that contact has came to be. It's never a red card. And VAR is quickly destroying the game. I miss the days of people blatantly handballing it, scoring offside goals, losing to offside goals. I miss it all. That's what made football. You know, people getting away with something that they maybe should have been red carded for, or people getting red carded for something they should have been red carded for. I know what you're saying. Well, VAR's here to fix that. It's not fixed it. It's made it worse. And Dyson Maeda was obviously subject to that on Tuesday night. Once again, it's not an excuse. We still would have went on to get pumped. We weren't good enough. But it's an extremely frustrating one to look back on now, knowing that, you know, we could have maybe kept the game closer at least. And we maybe could have got in there sometime in the game. We maybe could have got in there, behind the line, behind the defenders. We could have troubled them. But as soon as Maeda was off the park, the job just became 10 times more difficult. And we know what happened from there. The goal before half-time was really frustrating because going into half-time 1-0 down with 10 men isn't the end of the world. We weren't going to win, but it wasn't the end of the world. We're thinking, right, okay, a few tactical adjustments. If we can try and shut up shop and strike them on the counter, who knows the way this game could go. But the goal before half-time absolutely killed any hope of that. Barata, right on the break. That's Atlético won the game there and then. What's more frustrating after that is the manner of how we fell to the sword in the second half. We looked lifeless. We looked terrible. We looked like we down tools. It was an embarrassment of a performance. An embarrassment of a performance. We should not be, even with 10 men in the park, you shouldn't be conceding 6 goals. You shouldn't. And of course, we weren't in the game. We didn't have many chances to talk about on our side. But every time Atlético went forward, they could have scored. It could have been worse than 6. Easily. It could have been 9, 10, 11, 12. It could have been. They had so many chances. They had I'm sure they had one chopped off for offside as well. No wonder the Celtic fans were leaving. The manner was pathetic. And there's just a few players in that side who are not cut out for this level, especially ones coming off from the bench. They just shouldn't be involved. They're not cut up to the standards yet of what the Champions League demands. They're just not there. And we just looked like we were, you know, lying down, cheeks spread, on you go. They made us look like rookies. And that's the embarrassing part, because we're talking about the champions of Scotland here. We're talking about treble winners. We're talking about the great Glasgow Celtic, former European Cup winners, former UEFA Cup finalists. You know, one of the most historic teams in football history, and we're laying down with our cheeks spread, as I said, for Atlético Madrid. I hate it, because that just shouldn't be the story of following Celtic. No matter the gulf in financials, no matter the gulf in quality, we should be giving a better account of ourselves than that. And the second half performance, quite frankly, was unacceptable. The manager's got to take blame for that. The players have got to take blame for that. They just didn't look like they wanted anything to do with that game in the second half. You know, I'm not even going to lie here when I say this. The last 20, 25 minutes of the game, didn't watch it. I ended up making a pal. So shout out to unnamed, I didn't find out his name, unnamed Atlético fan who was sitting behind me. Ended up talking to him for 25 minutes, you know, just talking about each club, the history of the clubs, and talking about football in general. Nice conversation. But we were just, he even stopped celebrating the goals. He was like, there's no point now. It was nuts, you know. I wasn't really paying attention the last 20, 25 minutes. I'm not even going to sit here and lie. Why should I? You know, fans were once again quite within their rights of walking out the stadium. I personally don't like leaving the games early. I'll always stay to the final whistle. It's just my personal preference. But listen, it's the closest I've came to walking out a game early, and you know that's just, it's fair. It is. It's, you don't like watching stuff like that. You know, your own team being massacred right in front of your eyes when you've paid all that money to go over. It's sickening. So that's it for the game itself, which leaves us in a pretty, you know, we know our position in the group. But we're not going to go any further, are we? This is it. We're out of the competitions. Not competition, competitions. No chance we're going to get Europa League. There is that slight hope. You know, we beat Lazio, we beat Feyenoord. We could finish on 7 points. If Feyenoord lose both their games, they could finish in 6 points. There is hope. Is it going to happen? I wouldn't put my money on it. I've pretty much accepted that we're out of both competitions now. So it's been a disappointing campaign, especially when you consider the fact that we should have beat Lazio. We should have beat Atlético. Those 2 games, we came up... We were just so short in the end. A 90th minute winner and then just a bit of ill luck on our side against Atlético. We could have been somewhere different, but we're not. We've made our bed. We have to lie in it. So it's annoying. The bigger picture now is, of course, the aftermath of the game and the conversation that's came alongside that. As I said very early on in this video, people are venting their frustrations to different, elements of the club, the team, the manager, the board. It seems the board has become the main target. I would be lying if I sat here and say I don't agree. I do agree. It's another example of why the lack of ambition at Celtic is going to continue to humiliate us as supporters and humiliate us as a club. And there's no point every year just sitting here and saying the same thing and repeating the same story. We don't spend enough on players. We need to sign better players. We're not equipped for the Champions League. We say that every year and it just feels like it's becoming a pointless excuse at this point. We can't just keep using it, but there is such a huge element of truth in it. There's not much we can do when we're signing 19, 20, 21-year-old guys who have never played anywhere near the level of European football, and we just keep getting the same results year after year. It's not helping the club. Brendan Rodgers must be incredibly frustrated with this group stage because he came into the club and by my understanding, by all of our understanding, and on his understanding, we were going to try and challenge in Europe. Has he been given the tools to do that? No. He's not he's not exempt from blame after the 6-0, by the way. He's got to take a responsibility. He was the one that fielded a side that lost 6-0. He was the one that made the changes, which I don't think suited the second half of the game. He was the one that, set us up tactically the way we did. You know me, I love Rodgers, but he's not exempt from criticism. But he must be so frustrated. And honestly, we keep putting ourselves in this position. He's going to walk again. And I wouldn't blame him. He's came back on this understanding that he's going to be challenging in Europe and getting the tools to do that. That's not happened in the summer window. I think January and next summer are 2 of the biggest windows in this club's history. And I'm not even joking. It's not a knee-jerk reaction after Tuesday. But I think that could determine a lot of what both our manager does and our club does in the next few years. We need to close this gap. We can do it. The money's there. Us as supporters are up millions into season tickets, into merchandise. The club are making 40, 50 million pounds off of European football, and it's not going out and it's not being spent. They're making these signings that look decent. You're like, oh, that'll do the job in Scotland. It's not going to do the job in Europe. And that, on Tuesday, is the proof of that. Now, the other way to look at it is, just because we start spending more on players and try to sign other players, is that going to suddenly close the gap? Is that because you look at Newcastle, who have spent all sorts, Manchester United, all sorts. Manchester United have spent about 400 million quid, and they're still failing. They're still falling at these European hurdles. Newcastle beat off Dortmund twice. With the money they spent, they should be beating Dortmund. Money doesn't automatically mean that you're going to go and win these games, and you're going to close that gap. It's more about the players that we are signing. You need to get experience in there. You need to get players who've played at the level or been close to the level, instead of guys who may be waiting 4 or 5 years to get to that level. That's the biggest problem. So it's not just about money for me, it's just about the players that we are signing. I like all the players we've signed, and I want them to do well, but are they the players that are the tools to get us going further in Europe? I'm not so sure. So the criticism at the board is justified. The criticism after the game in general is justified. We're well more than entitled to be frustrated and angry after Tuesday. And we need to solve that very quickly as well. Good performances in these last 2 games are vital. Sunday is huge. Massive game for us on Sunday. We need to win. We need to win convincingly, I would say. Just to kind of calm things down a little bit. This always happens after European defeats. It's not anything new. We'll all be fine in 2-3 weeks' time if we win our league games and whatever. But we need better. And these last 2 European games, we need to give it a go. Now, we've left ourselves shortchanged for Lazio. Let's be real. Maida's going to be out. I believe Luis Palma is out as well. We are looking, and this is what I mean. Like, this is where the board have left us in terms of the players we've got. We are realistically looking at a really realistic possibility of James Forrest and Mikey Johnson starting on the wings against Lazio in the Champions League. And if it's not one of they two, Yang as well, who is, 20 years old from South Korea, never played a level like that in his life. In a must-win game. That is where we've left ourselves. That's unacceptable. So there were 2 must-win games. They're going to be tough to watch. Can we do it? Probably not. But we'll wait and see. Anyway, that's me done. My ranting and raving is over for today. We're back from Madrid, so videos should be back consistently as well over the next few days. International break, we'll see what happens as well. But these topics of conversation need wider discussion. I can only touch on it so much in a video like this. So podcasts, example, will be back soon. Live streams as well to get you guys involved. I've got so many schools of thought on it that it's hard to actually just put into one 10-20 minute video. And I feel like I leave extremely important parts out because I'm just trying to get through it. So, take it easy in the comments. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.